Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm your friend Arman. So today in this video we're gonna learn about the remoteness of damage. Okay, so today's topic is remoteness of damage. Remoteness of damage. Remoteness of damage. So this is one of the most important topic of the law of tort, and I don't think that you have studied during your LLB days this topic, but this topic is really important in terms of the competitive exam point of view. So that's why I thought of making the video on this topic. So this topic is talking about the remoteness of damage. So what is remoteness of damage? So there is a situation, okay, like there is a guy, say A, okay, who is riding a cycle, okay, and he hit a person B, okay, negligently. He was riding a cycle very negligently, and he hit the person B, and person B was carrying a bomb in his pocket, okay. So the moment he hit the B, so he fell down, B fell down, okay, fell down, and what happened, what the bomb being carried by B, what exploded, okay. The moment the bomb explode, what happened, you know B died, okay. B died, and what and many other people get also injured, and the nearby few buildings are there, okay. Nearby few buildings are there, and that building also got severely damaged. So in that case, whether the A will be held responsible for all the wrongs that he has committed. Like, he first of all, he did the wrong to B because he was riding his cycle negligently, thereby he hit the B, and B was carrying a bomb, and bomb explode. So the moment the explosion of the bomb, what happened, B died, and the few other persons were also injured, and building nearby was also collapsed. So whether A will be held responsible for all this kind of tort. So this is what we are going to discuss today, and this is the topic of discussion. So we will discuss the remoteness of damage. That means how far, okay, how far a person can be held liable for the wrong committed by him. Okay, so that is the topic. So yeah, so which means, like, whether, like, up to what extent, like what extent A can be made liable. Okay, generally what happens, a person committed a tort, A commits a tort against B, the liability of the A arises the moment he commits the tort. But when, like, the tort is committed, like the consequences is goes on the long run, then what will happen, like whether the person who has committed the tort will be responsible for all the wrongs, for all the consequences. So that's what we are discussing today. All right, so stay tuned until the end of this video, and this video is going to be very interesting. Hope you like this video, and I have put my all the efforts to make you understand this topic. So guys, please subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed yet, and do hit the like button if you like this video, and do not forget to share this video with your friends. So yeah, so let's start today's topic. Okay, so guys, like, since I have told you that when A commits a tort against B, A will be held responsible the moment he commits the tort. Okay, but what happens when the consequences, consequences of the consequences keep on increasing? So what will happen in that case? Up to what extent the person will be held responsible? So in that case, a line must be drawn. Like, this is the extent. In this, up to this extent only, that A will be held responsible. Beyond that, he will not be responsible. So this is the extent. So how we will decide, how we can identify that this is the limit. To this level only he can be made liable. Beyond that, he will not be. So to identify that, there is a two test provided under the law of tort. Okay, but before that, there is a very important case law. This case law is very important, and you should remember that, because I have seen the questions. I think in 2016 the question has came from that case only. Okay, there is a case law called Shepherd, I think, Scott versus Shepherd. Scott versus Shepherd. Shepherd. So in this case, what happened? In this case, there was a there is a person A, okay, who throw a squib ball, a lighted squib ball, okay, lighted squib ball, which is lighted on the crowded place. Okay, so here, so what is squib ball? First understand that squib ball means a पटाखा, okay, जो हम लोग दिवाली में फोड़ते हैं ना, वही वाले पटाखे की बात हो रही है. तो यहाँ पे पर्सन ए जो होता है पटाखा जला के a lighted squib ball he throws into the crowded area. Okay, तो जब वो मतलब the moment he like throw that squib ball that fell upon X. Okay, सबसे पहले जाके गिरता है X पे. Okay, so in order to prevent the injury, what X does, X throw it further. The squib ball, before the explosion of the ball, like squib ball, he throw it further. Okay, the moment he thrown to, and that fell upon Y. Okay, that fell on Y. Okay, and Y also did the same. And the squib ball goes and explodes finally to B. Okay, when it reaches to the B, the bomb explodes. Okay, so not bomb, squib ball. Okay, pataka, cracker, that means cracker explodes. Okay, and during that explosion, what happened? We lost his one eye. Okay, so in that case, whether A will be held responsible. So B filed a suit against A in the court, and the question before the court was that whether A will be held responsible for B. Generally, what happens? He throw a squib ball into the crowded place, and that fell upon X. So X is the first plaintiff according to him. Okay, and since the X does not suffer any wrong, so that was so here he is a defendant. Okay, so that was a contention from the defendant side. The moment he thrown that lighted squib ball, that fell upon X. So generally the X is the plaintiff. So that is why, since the X did not suffer any wrong, so he said that I will not be responsible whatever the loss incurred by B. But the court said that the moment you throw a squib ball into the crowded place, that means that squib ball can injure any person. Okay, so that's why the court held him responsible, and court awarded the compensation to B. Okay, and the court said that the court rejected the contention of the defendant, that so though the consequences is too remote, but it is not remote. The proximity, there is a proximity that it can injure any person, so that's why it is not too remote. The court said that. Okay, again मैं फिर से बोल रहा हूँ आपको, जब ए ने पटाखा फेंका तो गिरा एक्स पे, तो एक्स को इंजरी होना चाहिए था, बिकॉज ए ने फेंका तो एक्स पे गिरा, तो एक्स पे इंजरी होना चाहिए, बट एक्स को इंजरी नहीं हुआ. एक्स ने फर्दर फेंका एंड वो जाके लगा एक्स को, वाई को, वाई ने फिर से फेंका तो जाके लगा बी को, एंड बी को हुआ इंजरी. ओके, सो बी ने अपना एक आँख खो दिया उसी चीज़ में. तो इसीलिए कोर्ट ने बोला है कि दो बीच में दो लोग थे, सो देयर आर इंटरवेनिंग इवेंट, लाइक इंटरवेनिंग सर्कमस्टेंसेस. ओके, सो दो द प्रेजेंस ऑफ द इंटरवेनिंग सर्कमस्टेंसेस स्टिल the injury suffered by the plaintiff is not too remote. Okay, so remote नहीं हुआ, मतलब there is not that far distance that you cannot say कि it was a remotest distance. Okay, so that's why A was held him liable. So I think you can understand from now that what is the remoteness of damage. All right, so now we will see, so there is two tests given under the law of tort to identify whether the act committed by the defendant is remote or not. Okay, so there is a two tests. Number one is that test of directness. So according to this test, what happened? A person will be held responsible for all the wrongs, all the consequences, all the direct consequences. Okay, for example, let's take the example that we have discussed earlier, that A is a cyclist and he was riding a cycle negligently, and he hit the B who was carrying a bomb, and during the hit he fell down, and that is why the bomb exploded, and many other people injured, and so many things are done. Okay, the building will collapse and many more things has, there was a lot of distractions. Okay, so though it is not generally anticipated that like a person, it is not anticipated who is walking down the street and carrying a bomb. Matlab, you cannot assume or say we cannot perceive that a person is generally walking down in the street will carry a bomb. So that's why, the court will not held a liable in that case. But since if we apply the test of directness, then what will happen, all the consequences, okay, that follow from the defendant's act, so he will be responsible. If we apply this doctrine, so that means the doctrine, then he will be held responsible for all the things, all the circumstances, or whatever the event had happened. Okay, so that is the test of directness. That means the act of the defendant, by the act of the defendant, anything done, any wrong is happened, and because of that wrong, all the things preceding act, or further active acts which are being done in furtherance of the act of the defendant, then he will be held responsible. Okay, that means अगर defendant के जरिए कुछ भी गलती होती है, अगर defendant कुछ भी करता है, जैसे कि अगर defendant कोई tort commit करता है, तो उस tort के जरिए सबसे पहले प्लेंटिफ को तो लॉस होता है, और उसके कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस के द्वारा और भी बहुत कुछ हो सकती है. ठीक है, सपोज मैंने इससे हिट कर दिया, तो उसने जाके वो किसी पे और पे गिरा, उसकी वजह से उसका कुछ लॉस हो गया. सो दैट देयर कुड बी मेनी सर्कमस्टेंसेस, मेनी इवेंट. ओके, सो जितने भी लॉसेस होंगे, सो आई विल बी हेल्ड रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर दैट. तो वही है टेस्ट ऑफ डायरेक्टनेस. ओके, तो यहाँ पे एक फेमस केस है, यहाँ पे एक फेमस केस है, आरी पॉलेमिस. केस का नाम एक सेकंड है, Polymus. Polymus and Polymus. Polymus and Polymus OVT. And company limited. So in this case, the court has said that whatever the wrong or whatever the tort committed by the defendant, if that is the direct consequence, and whatever the things happened due to the direct consequences of the act of the defendant, then he will be held responsible for all the things. Okay, whatever the loss has happened, he will be held responsible entirely. Okay, he cannot escape by saying that it was not anticipated or this is not possible. There will be no excuses in the part of the defendant. Okay, मतलब जितने भी लॉस हुए हो, he will be held responsible. यही कहा गया था री पॉलेमिस में. And this case was famous case. Okay, famous case, and you can say it was the precedent at that time. Okay, this case was the precedent. Whatever such kind of activities happened, court has been considering test of directness as a proper test. Okay, to identify the remoteness of damage. Okay. And there is another case regarding the test of directness. That case is also important. Remember that. That case name is Smith versus London and Southwestern. London and Southwestern Railway. Southwestern Railway Company. Okay, so in this case, what happened? There was a rail line. Okay, there was a rail line. Okay, and there was a rail line, and so just beside the rail line there were many you say grasses. Okay, grasses and bushes which were dry. Okay, during the direct dry season, the many there was a heap. You say heap, but the quantity was very high. Whatever the bushes were there, the quantity was very high, and all the bushes were dry because due to the dry season, all the bushes were dry. So while the train was traveling here, okay, traveling through this route, so there was a spark, and there is a spark erupts, okay, on the wheel of the train. So due to the spark, what happened? The bushes started burning, okay. So the after the burning, what happened? Like due to the help of the air, you know, the air, sorry, the fire keeps on increasing, okay, keeps on increasing, and eventually what happened? Uh, a result a result of the plaintiff got burned, okay, got burned also. So in this case, the defendant, you know go to the court, sorry, the plaintiff go to the court first, asking for the damages from the defendant, that is the railway company defendant, okay. So Smith is the plaintiff. So Smith go to the court asking for the damages, that because of the negligence of the railway company, the bushes got burned, and due to that burning, due to that fire, my house has also got burned. So that's why plaintiff go to the court, and the court held the London company, so London and South Western Railway Company liable for it, because there was a contention from the defendant side that he is not responsible because it is not anticipated. You cannot anticipate that just because of the small amount of heap of grasses or bushes, you cannot anticipate that could burn someone's house. But by but the court applied the principle of test of directness, and due to according to the test of directness, so railway company was held responsible, okay. So this was the case, okay. I hope you understand this. If you still have any doubt, you can ask me. So फिर से बता रहा हूँ, मैं आपको हिंदी में समझाता हूँ, ठीक है। तो क्या हुआ था रेलवे कंपनी के केस में, इसमें वर्सेस लंदन एंड साउथ वेस्टर्न रेलवे कंपनी के केस में, एक ट्रेन की पटरी होती है, पटरी के सामने बहुत सारी झाड़ियाँ उगी होती है, एंड उस टाइम में ड्राई सीजन चल रहा होता है, तो झाड़ियाँ भी सूख चुकी थी काफ़ी। तो क्या होता है, जब ट्रेन चलता है उस पटरी से, तो क्या होता है, स्पार्क निकलता है, ठीक है, चिंगारी निकलती है ट्रेन के पटरी से। वो चिंगारी की वजह से क्या होता है, तो झाड़ी में आग लग जाती है, एंड वो झाड़ी मतलब हवा की वजह से वो आग मतलब फैलता जाता है, फैलता जाता है, जाके इवेंचुअली प्लेंटिफ का जो रिजॉर्ट होता है उसको भी जला देता है, ठीक है। सो उस टाइम में जब प्लेंटिफ जाता है कोर्ट में अगेंस्ट द रेलवे कंपनी, इसमें जाता है कोर्ट में अगेंस्ट द रेलवे कंपनी आस्किंग फॉर द डैमेजेस, एंड द कोर्ट क्या करता है, कोर्ट इसको डैमेजेस देता है अंडर व्हाट प्रिंसिपल, टेस्ट ऑफ डायरेक्टनेस, ठीक, सिंपल। तो इसके बाद इट वाज द मतलब डिसाइडिंग प्रिंसिपल रिगार्डिंग द टेस्ट ऑफ डायरेक्टनेस, सॉरी रिमोटनेस ऑफ डैमेज। लेकिन और एक टेस्ट आता है उसके बाद, दूसरा टेस्ट है टेस्ट ऑफ रीजनेबल फोरसाइट। टेस्ट ऑफ रीजनेबल फोरसाइट। सो अकॉर्डिंग टू दिस टेस्ट क्या होता है, ठीक है, अकॉर्डिंग टू दिस टेस्ट जो डिफेंडेंट होता है, ठीक है, उसी हद तक रिस्पॉन्सिबल होता है जहां तक कि अनरीजनेबल मैन सोच सकता है, ठीक है। That means according to this test, what happened, a defendant will be held responsible to that extent only where we can anticipate, okay. This could be the consequences if a general person put in the place of the defendant, then whatever the extent could be the possible, okay. Let's take the example, okay. Suppose A commits a tort against B, okay. So generally in order to identify up to what extent he will be held responsible, alright, that is what we are discussing. So क्या होता है, A कमिट करता है tort against B, लेकिन उसकी वजह से C का भी लॉस हो जाता है, ठीक है। तो इस केस में क्या C भी रेस्पॉन्सिबल होगा, सॉरी A के C के लिए भी रेस्पॉन्सिबल होगा। तो वो चीज़ हम जानने के लिए, तो कोर्ट ने लॉ ऑफ टॉर्ट में 2 टेस्ट मिला था, जो कि टेस्ट ऑफ डायरेक्टनेस था। सो अगर हम टेस्ट ऑफ डायरेक्टनेस अप्लाई करेंगे तो फिर A will be held responsible for the loss of C as well as loss of B also. But अगर reasonable foresight में क्या होता है कि the court will put a general person, okay, general person in place of A, मतलब what the general person would have done in certain situation, okay. And if court thinks that like this could be the like whatever the wrong is suffered by B, that means a plaintiff, like if any person in his place were there, the things would have been the same. Then in that case, A will be held responsible for both of them. Okay, for both of them. But if the court thinks that no, like this is the like in certain situation, whatever the loss suffered by the C, I think if general person put in the position of the A, then he will not be whatever the loss incurred by the C would not have been happened, then in that case A will not be responsible. Okay, मतलब कहने का मतलब क्या है कि अगर कोर्ट को लगता है, अगर कोई भी केस कोर्ट के अंदर जाता है, ठीक है, कैंडिडेट जाता है कि कोर्ट का केस जाता है कि किस हद तक डिफेंडेंट को रेस्पॉन्सिबल किया जाता है, तो उस केस में कोर्ट देखेगा कि रीजनेबल फोरसाइट, अकॉर्डिंग टू द रीजनेबल फोरसाइट टेस्ट ऑफ रीजनेबल फोरसाइट क्या होता है, कोर्ट देखता है कि लाइक ए के पास कितना, लाइक अगर ए के जगह पे कोई और इंसान होता तो वो भी क्या वही करता, अगर वही करता है तो फिर जो भी रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है, लाइबिलिटी है, वो रहेगा, वो मतलब उसको मतलब इम्यूनिटी मिलेगा उस चीज़ों से, ओके, थोड़ी सी छूट मिलेंगी। लेकिन अगर नहीं होता है, अगर कोर्ट को लगता है कि लाइक नहीं, अगर रीजनेबल मैन को अगर इसके जगह पे रखता, कोई भी अगर दूसरा इंसान होता डिफेंडेंट की जगह पे, तो जितने भी लॉस हुए थे शायद उतना लॉस नहीं होता। सो उस केस में ए विल बी हेल्ड रिस्पॉन्सिबल एंटायरली। ओके, सो यहाँ पे एक बहुत ही फेमस केस है, वो केस बहुत ही इम्पॉर्टेंट है, ठीक है, बहुत ध्यान से सुनिएगा, मैं आपको समझाता हूँ वन बाय वन करके। तो केस एक्चुअली वोगन माउंट केस, एंड इसका नाम है ओवरशिप टैंकशिप, ओवरशिप overseas tankship UK Limited, UK Limited versus Motor Dock and Engineering Company, MODS, Dock, MODS Dock and Engineering Company, Limited. Okay, so this case is famously known as Wogan Mount case. Okay, this case is famously known as Wogan Mount case. So in this case, what happened? Overseas Tankship UK Limited versus Mods Dock and Engineering Company Limited, and popularly known as Wogan Mount case. Okay, so here Wogan Mount, that is the overseas tankship. It is a oil burning vessel. Okay, that means oil burning vessel, that means क्या बोले, अगर हिंदी में बोले तो एक जहाज होता है जो तेल पे चलता है, ठीक है, ऑयल के जरिए चलता है, so that means a fuel burning, okay, fuel burning vessel, so tank ship. Okay, so there was a leakage, okay, there was a leakage in the tank ship, so the tank ship, okay, the Wogan Mount, okay, Wogan Mount is a ship, okay, ship, and was carrying a oil, and due to the leakage, so there was a, he was carrying, it was carrying a various containers of oils, okay, tons of oils for the transition from one place to another place. So what happened, the tank was, sorry, the overseas tank ship was there, ये जब वोगन माउंट का केस होता है, तो वोगन माउंट के केस में क्या होता है, आपका जो ट्रेन था, सॉरी जो शिप था, शिप में वो ऑयल कैरी किया होता है, तो बीच में रुका था जब, ठीक है, यू से ही स्टॉप्ड इन द पोर्ट ड्यूरिंग द ट्रांजिट, let's suppose is like overseas is going from point A to point B, okay, so and in between the point C, okay, so there is a point C in between A and B, there is a point C, okay, so the overseas tank ship, that is the Wogan Mount, is stopped here, okay, for a few times, okay, few minutes, for some times, okay, it stopped here, okay, and there was a port, okay. So near that port, there was a motor dock, okay. There was a mod stock and company. There was a mod stock company, okay. So what it does, you see, the just suppose that point C is the mod stock company, okay, where the mod stock company, what they used to do, they used to, you know, repair the ship and whatever the things are required for the ship, they used to do. You just take a service center for the ship, okay. Mod stock company was the service center for the ship, okay. So overseas tank ship, you know, from point A, when he went here, okay, he stopped here. You can say, you know, it was, you know, say 6 meter away, no, no, I think 30 meter away from the, yeah, 30 meter away from the engineering company, okay. So there was a so the ship is stopped here, okay. So there was a stoppage, okay. So there was a distance of 30 meter between the mod stock company and the wagon mount, that is the ship, okay. So the ship was carrying a oil, and there was a leak in the, you know, one container of the oil. So what happened, all the oils from that container spill, okay, spill down from the ship, and you know, the it spilled down and it went to the, you know, just near to the mod stock company also, you know. So there was a huge area which has been covered due to the spill of oil, but the wagon mount did not notice, okay, did not notice, has no idea about it, okay. And he went away for the point B, okay. He, the wagon mount went away for the point B, okay. तो वहाँ पे क्या होता है, चला जाता है, and another vessel comes, okay, another vessel come for the repair, okay. So during the welding, okay, during the welding of the ship, the new ship which came here for the repair, so the moment it came here, so the company started repairing the ship, okay, and there were certain things were done. So while, you know, the welding, okay, while during the welding procedure, what happened, I think you have seen during the welding, what happens, there is a huge spark that you can notice, okay. The spark, you know, carries what, the spark carries a melted form of iron, okay. So the one of the melted form of iron fell on the sea, okay, fell on the sea, and then what happened, so the sea was already, you know, full of what, oil, full of oil. So the moment it fell on the ship, the melted iron fell on the sea. There was a huge fire around, okay, around the new ship, huge fire around the ship, thereby there was a huge loss. The new vessel, the new vessel which came to the mod stock company for repair, that also burned, and including the mod stock company, that is also burned due to that oil, spill of oil, okay. So in that case, the defendant, that is the mod stock, sorry, plaintiff, the mod stock company, went to the court asking for the asking for the compensation from the wagon mount, okay, that is the overseas tank ship UK Limited, okay. Then the court has said, okay, the court has said, no, the defendant will not be held responsible for all the wrongs, because, and if we, the court said that if the doctrine of test of directness, if we apply, then the ship will be held responsible. That means the wagon mount will be held responsible. But, and the court said that the wagon mount case, sorry, the test of directness, that is the Repolymis case, is no more good rule. So then the court said that, so from now, the test of reasonable foresight will be applicable for all the things. So it is the determining principle. So the court did not give compensation to the victim, that is who was mod stock company, okay. So mod stock company was not provided any relief from the court, because the loss that is incurred by the mod stock company is beyond imagination, okay. No one has anticipated that this could be happened, okay. So that's why, by applying the reasonable foresight, the court said that no, you the wagon mount will not be held responsible, okay. So that's what it is. Okay, reasonable foresight means by reasoning up to what extent this could be possible, you will assume. Okay, and if you think that this could be possible, then you will be responsible, and if you think if it is not possible, then you will not get compensation. That's what it is. Okay, so the court said that the test of reasonable foresight is good principle in comparison to the test of directness. So that's why the reasonable foresight will be applicable for the subsequent cases. Okay, so the test of reasonable foresight is now applicable. Okay. So another situation is that intended consequences. Okay, intended consequences. Intended consequences. So during the intended consequences, you cannot, there is no need of using any kind of test. Okay, since you know that your act will cause this kind of injuries to the other person, then in that case you will be held responsible. There is no question of directness or say reasonable foresight or proximity. Okay, so there is no question of that. You will be held responsible because A intentionally commits a tort against B. Okay, and thereby there was a loss of C, D also. C, many people has suffered loss due to the act of the A. Okay, so in that case he knew that by doing that act, this kind of situation will happen. He knew that, and he was intentionally does that. Then that means, so in that case A will be held responsible for entirely. Okay, there is no question of test of directness or test of reasonable foresight. Okay, very simple. And another situation, he may be asked during the intended consequences whether the test of directness will be applicable or test of reasonable foresight. So in that case, there is no question of reasonable foresight. Nothing will be applicable. The person will be held responsible entirely. Okay, that's what it is. So there is a situation when the damages included when the damage is excluded as removed. So in this case, the question is like the situation is when the damages is excluded as too remote. So we have understood that by using the reasonable foresight, the court will identify that up to what extent the person will be held responsible. But there is a situation like how we will identify that this is the extent, and after that everything will be whatever that happened after that, beyond that limit, that will be considered as remote. Okay, so that's what we are talking here. So there are two situations like contributory negligence. Okay, so guys, the contributory negligence I have discussed in my previous video in detail, but still I'll give you a small overview of it. The contributory negligence is what? There was a defendant is 2 and the wrong is 1. Okay, the plaintiff is 1. By the act of the 2 person, 1 person injured. Okay, by the act of the 2 person, 1 person injured. So that is the contributory negligence. And another situation I have told you that act of the independent third party. Act of the independent third party. I'll explain you. Okay, so how they will be in what are the situations like a person will be, or say damage will be excluded as too remote. Okay, so I'll explain you. There is a maxim. Okay, There is a magazine that is Novus Actus, Novus Actus Interveniens. Novus Actus Interveniens. Okay. So in this case, sorry. So this is the maxim Novus Actus Interveniens, which means that act of the independent third party. Okay. But sorry, which means the intervening acts. Okay. Suppose A committed committed a mischief. Okay. And before the injury suffered by the B, there was a various factors in between. Okay. Various factors in between before the injury suffered by the plaintiff. Okay. So that means intervening factors, which Novus Actus Interveniens. That means there was a intervening factors between the plaintiff and the defendant. Okay. So I'll explain you with an example. Okay. It will be easy for you to understand. And this magazine is important. Like suppose there is a person A, okay, and take the example that we have discussed in the initial time, that is A throw a lighted squid ball, okay, lighted squid ball into the crowded place, okay, and that fell upon X, and he pass it further, that fell upon Y, and eventually it injured B. Okay. So in that case, like A is a defendant, B is a plaintiff, and X and Y is a intervening factors. Okay. If let's suppose X knew that he will A will throw a squid ball and that will near to him, and he will take that, and he knew that, and he will, by taking the benefit of that wrong that is going to be committed by A, and X thought that he has a rivalry with B. Okay, he has a rivalry with B, so X intentionally pass that squid ball near to B. Okay, and it was intentional. So in that case, what happened? So there is a break of chain. So there is a there was a chain. Okay, so A thrown X to Y, and Y to B. So there is a complete chain. But if you identify that something in between, okay, between the defendant and the plaintiff, something wrong is being done by the intervening event, okay, then in that case they breaks the chain of the causation. Okay, so in that case the defendant can take the plea that yes, it was the intentional from the side of the X, and the defendant can take the plea of Novus Actus Interveniens. Okay, right, a new act intervening, that means a new act intervening because he intentionally did it. Okay. Okay, now there is a very important case law. Harris, I think, yeah. Harris versus Harwood. So in this case, what happened? The defendant, let's suppose defendant A negligently left his horse chariot, okay, into the public way, okay, public way. He left his horse chariot in the public way unattended, okay. He did not tie his horse anywhere, okay. So he left his horse free. He left his horse free, and what happened? There was a children playing near to the horse, and one of the children thrown that stone to a horse, okay, thrown a stone. The moment the guy the child pelted the stone to the horse was bolted, started bolting, and the horse started running, okay, and during that time the horse is supposed to supposed to injure a woman, and children, supposed to injure the women and children to save them, okay, to save them, to rescue them. One of the policemen, came in between to stop the horse. So during that, so while he was trying to stop that horse, the policeman also got injured, okay. So in that case, the plaintiff, that is the policeman, and the women and children, intended plaintiff, they file a suit against A, okay, for the recovery of the damages. Then the A, take the plea that novus actus interveniens. That means, though his act was negligent, say because he, left his horse alone in the street without any okay, he left the horse without any attendance. So that is a negligent act, because this could have happened. So, and the defendant take the plea novus actus interveniens, act of the independent third person. That is, A meant, that means the contention of the defendant was that the child, who pelted the stone on the horse, they are responsible, they are the intermediaries, okay, intervening factors. So he said that they will be held responsible, but the court said that no. Court said the moment you left your horse unattended in the public street, so this kind of mischief is generally expected from a child. This could have happened. So that's why the court, by using the principle of reasonable foresight and rejecting the contention of the defendant, that is intervening, like novus actus interveniens, A was held responsible. A was held liable for it. Okay. So the point of discussion here, that is what are the situations a person can be immune from the liability. Okay. So in case of the novus actus interveniens, in case of the novus, NOVOUS, actus actus interveniens, INTERVENIENS. Okay. So novus actus interveniens. So in the case of novus actus interveniens, the defendant will be excluded, or excluded from the damages, and that will be considered as too removed. Okay. Let's suppose, okay, I am a person, and I have, let's suppose me, okay, Arman, who has, and this is my premises, okay, okay. So within my premise, I have, locked my premises very, properly fenced. My area is properly fenced, and I am here, doing certain scientific activities, okay. So I am, researching on various kind of drugs, okay, and I'm researching on drugs, okay, drugs and various kind of poisons, okay. I'm dealing with poisons and pesticide, fungicide, all that I'm doing, and like researching on that, okay. There are various things that I do inside my premises, and the premises is properly fenced and no one can enter here, okay. But suddenly, a person is stranger, okay, suppose B, okay, suppose B intentionally what does, he, without my permission and without, proper authority, he comes to my house in my absence, and he, malfunction all the things, like poison, whatever the poisons and research activities that are being going on inside my premises, he started playing with it, okay. And what happened, due to his act, all the my research things, that explodes, okay. There is huge explosion, and due to the explosion, all the, atmosphere got poisonous, and due to that, many people got injured, okay. So in that case, I can take the plea of novus actus interveniens, that is, that act of the independent third party, or say new act intervening, or say new act intervening. A new act, that means the act of the B is a new act here, okay. Whatever I'm doing within my premises, okay, that is different thing. So In this case, the act of the third party is what? A new act. So that is why A can escape from the liability and B will be held responsible. So that is novus actus intelligence. Okay. So another case law that is important, which is Indian case law regarding this topic, notice of damage. The case law name is CC of state. CC of state versus Gokul Chand. Gokul Chand, 1925. Okay. So in this case, what happened? The defendant, that is a railway company. Okay. The defendant, that is a railway. Okay? The railway company. Defendant, that is a railway. So due to the fire in the train, defendant was injured. Okay. The plaintiff was injured due to the fire in the train. Here the defendant is railway. Railway is a defendant, and the plaintiff was injured due to the fire in the train. Okay, and the train caught up into the fire because of the act of the defendant only. Due to the negligence of the defendant, the train caught the fire. Okay, so due to the fire, the plaintiff suffered an injury, personal injury, and after that also the plaintiff, the plaintiff very valuable items lost during that fire. Okay, lost the valuable items in the fire. So in that case, the plaintiff filed a suit against the railway department for the recovery of the injuries, personal injuries, as well as for those loss of good. Okay, loss of valuable goods. Okay, loss of valuable goods. But the court said that it is the loss of the valuable good is too remote. Okay, the code is too remote. It is not anticipated. This could not be anticipated that there will be loss of the goods. So the personal injury suffered by the plaintiff was compensated, but apart from that, whatever the loss incurred by the plaintiff was not addressed by the court by saying it is too remote. Okay, remote. So this is what the remoteness of damage. I hope it is clear to you now. Still, if you have any doubt regarding this topic, you can ask me. You can comment down below, or you can connect me on Instagram. My Instagram ID is, I'll give the description. You will find my ID in the description box. That is optimistic. When you will find it in Instagram also. You can follow me there. If you have any questions, you can connect me through there. If you need my number and all that, you can connect me through Instagram. You can ask me there. I'll give you my number, okay, where you can connect with me. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. And if you think that this video is helpful, if you find this helpful, then please hit the like button and please subscribe to my channel. And thank you. Stay tuned. And tomorrow I'll upload videos, and I think within a week I will finish. And I'm really sorry that I couldn't complete my video within a particular time period that I have given, because I was a little busy, so I couldn't make time for you. But yeah, from now I will be uploading regularly, and within this week only I'll finish the law of tort. Thereafter I will start Assamese paper. Okay, so thank you so much once again. Have a great day, guys.